Good afternoon. We are coming on the air with breaking news right now about former President Donald Trump. The former president has been indicted again in his election interference case by a federal grand jury. It comes weeks after the Supreme Court's decision on presidential immunity, which barred the government from prosecuting presidents over official acts taken during their time in office. The new indictment, however, does not include any expanded charges against the former president. Let's get right to our senior legal correspondent, Laura Jarrett. So first, Laura, walk our viewers through this. I know you have some new reporting from the Trump legal team.
The heart of this case, Tom, remains the same. It still has to do with how the former president tried to go about reversing the results of the last election. What's different is that the Justice Department has taken out things that arguably could be part of what's called official presidential acts, things that he did while he was in office, conversations he might have had with the Justice Department. As president, he is obviously the commander-in-chief, and so the Supreme Court said any of those conversations with the Justice Department, those are off limits. He can't be prosecuted for them. And so what federal prosecutors have essentially done is stripped all of that out of the indictment. They went before a new grand jury and got a new indictment. But again, the heart of it remains the same. It's just some of the things that the court said was off limits are now not a part of this. The same charges, everything, the same counts, all of the potential sentence, all of that remains the same. But the timeline here is important because obviously this case was not going to trial anytime soon, and it's still not going to trial anytime soon because now the defense team is going to be able to get what's known as discovery. They're going to be able to go back and see what exactly was read to the grand jury. And then after all that, they're going to be able to make a new motion for why this case should be dismissed. So we're talking not weeks, we're talking months here. But again, in case the former president actually is not reelected, they want to be able to have a fail-safe plan. They want to be able to prosecute him in the event he actually does not take office again.
Okay, a lot to unpack there, but just to be absolutely clear, we do not think this is going to affect the upcoming debates or the election in any way.
It can't possibly because of the timeline that I just outlined. It just takes too long. There's so much process, even if they wanted to move aggressively, and they have signaled they do. I should point out, a source familiar with the defense team that I just got off the phone with, they're trying to say this was not a surprise, this was expected because they really had no choice. This is what they were left with after the Supreme Court's decision. They're saying they still think there are fatal flaws in the indictment. For instance, those conversations with the Justice Department have been removed, but there's still conversations with his former VP.
Well, explain that. Why does this new grand jury and the special counsel still believe that those don't fall under official acts, a president talking to his vice president?
I don't know. And we're going to have to see how they're going to explain that. They're going to be before the judge next week in Washington, D.C., Tanya Chutkan, and they're going to have to explain for her chapter and verse, why does this meet the test the Supreme Court outlined? A lot of people were trying to parse after the Supreme Court came out with that decision. Okay, what's in, what's out, what's official, not official. And they said a lot of things are going to be up to the trial court to decide. It's going to be up to her to make that call.
And a clear sign the Justice Department is not giving up on this case.
Correct.
I want to go to Von Hilliard. We've heard from the Trump legal team. Von, have we heard yet from the Trump campaign about this new indictment?
No, not at this point in time. And this is one where the campaign was looking at the reality that they were going to have potential multiple criminal trials in front of them that they are going to have to tackle at the same time that their candidate, Donald Trump, was trying to win the presidency. But now, with the New York trial come and gone, of course, he was found guilty on those 34 felony counts. But now we're looking at the reality that the classified documents case, if it were to be revived, it would not begin until well into 2025, if not beyond. And this immunity case also had implications on that New York trial. Of course, on September 18th, his sentencing is currently scheduled to take place in Lower Manhattan, but Judge Merchan in that New York case is set 2 days before that on September 16th to make the determination of whether the very Supreme Court's immunity decision that is affecting this D.C. federal election interference case could potentially nullify and void those 34 guilty counts that Donald Trump is facing for that sentencing, because Donald Trump's attorneys in that case have made the presentation to the judge that some of the evidence that went before the jury in the New York case should have never been presented because it was protected under the immunity decision from the Supreme Court here. And so just in a matter of 2.5 weeks, we should know whether that immunity decision also impacts his sentencing that is slated to take place just about 3 weeks from now.
All right, Von Hilliard for us. This no doubt will have some type of impact on the way Donald Trump campaigns in the future. That's going to conclude this NBC News special report. If you're just tuning in, there's been a new indictment on that election interference case.